Welcome to Dr. Z Show. This show is about spirituality and films, and in every show, we invite a guest to talk about their experiences. So today we have Jesse Ellen Smith. Hello, Jesse.
Hello.
How are you today?
Very well.
So I want to know about your experience, which was quite interesting when I heard about it.
Well, it was late 2012, October, which is my birth month, and I'm sitting in my friend's apartment in the Marina District, and we were just sitting around watching House on his TV, and all of a sudden this ball of vibration forms in my lower spine. It's about the size of my fist, and it starts in the base of my spine, and then it travels all the way up my spinal column, and all the way up to the back of my neck, and then all the way up the back of my head, and then it ends right here. And I had no idea what had just happened. I didn't know what to make of it. I wasn't in meditation. Like I said, we were just hanging out. And my buddy had no idea what had happened. And I sort of brushed it off, honestly. And then I noticed that a little reddish dot had appeared between my eyebrows.
Yeah, that's the third eye. That's
That's
right?
what I heard, yeah. And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought, wow, what a convenient location. But it was never like a bug bite or an abrasion or anything like that. It was never raised. It just was there all of a sudden. Some time passed, and then the second one showed up right above it. And that's when I started seeing that there might be a correlation between the experiences. And around that time, I also discovered that I had this intimate and innate understanding of quantum mechanics, even though I had never been a student of quantum mechanics. I've never attended a lecture. I've done minimal studying, and yet I've been able to publish writings based on my understanding of quantum mechanics, and I'm currently actually writing the next phase of our understanding of physics.
So you were homeschooled, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, so that just amazes me that how you were able to get all this education about quantum mechanics and all that. Tell us about it.
Well, I'm used to being self-taught. When I was homeschooled, I was handed curriculum, more or less, and I taught myself. If I had a question, of course, my parents were there to help me, and essentially, I was self-taught throughout high school. Graduated when I was 16, started college, and when I entered into college, I realized that it was just a lot like the high school system. Especially at the level that I entered in, which was just junior college, general education sort of stuff. So, coming out of such a self-taught environment to which I could excel at my own rate, I didn't really enjoy it very much, to be honest. I didn't thrive in that environment by any means. And so I left that, and then a couple of years passed, and I decided to go back into college to try my hand again, because I had the notion that I wanted to get into kinesiology.
So right now you are focusing on quantum mechanics.
Yes.
Tell our audience, like, very simply, so they can understand,
of course,
what you are doing.
Of course. So, if you've ever had a dream, right? It could be a lucid dream, it could be a non-lucid dream. If you've ever had a dream, you may notice that when you're dreaming, if it's non-lucid, it can seem just like your waking hours. It can seem just like an experience that you would have, maybe a little bit more unique because it's a dream, but it can seem real. You can wake up, and you can either be really glad that you've woken up, or you can wish that you would return. But either way, when you wake up, your brain just categorizes it as a dream, as something that maybe didn't happen. Whereas your waking hours, you feel like, okay, this is real and this is actually happening. And then maybe you've had a dream in which you gain the first stage of lucidity. That's where you realize you're in a dream, that aha, that moment, yes, dreaming. Maybe you go fly. Maybe you teleport somewhere. Maybe you materialize something in front of you, or a circumstance or an experience in front of you. But if you'll notice, your surroundings are still being generated by something that you aren't consciously aware of, or rather, you are not having to consciously generate everything that's around you. And when I say consciously, I'm referring to the perspective of the I am, of your persona, of what we identify as generally. And then, if you've experienced second stage lucidity, that's where there is nothing around you really. It's more of a void until you deem it to be so. You will it to be so. And me personally, in that stage of lucidity, I haven't noticed much of a thought process. I haven't identified as myself. I haven't identified as my persona. So when it comes to quantum mechanics and quantum physics, it is my understanding, my clear understanding really, that the physics of our dreams are the exact same as the physics of what we call our waking hours. So when you look at it that way, you can pull yourself out of this atomic realm of watching, the sporadic and what could be called spooky nature of quantum entanglement and quantum mechanics when you're looking at it at that level, and you can just see how you generate your reality just like you do in your dreams. Because when you're dreaming and you don't realize you're dreaming, you're still the generator of that reality. Just as when you come into that first stage of lucidity, you're still the generator of your reality, but now you just realize that you have much more control. And then when you go into the second stage of lucidity, you're definitely still the generator of that reality, but there's nothing until you specifically generate it.
So can you give us an example of your own dream, which it was so lucid and clear, and what did you experience in that dream?
Certainly. Well, every time that I most often hit the first stage of lucidity, right, where I realize I'm dreaming. And the first thing that I do every time is fly. Every time. And I realize that when I feel in my dreams, if I feel fear, or if I feel anxiousness, or if I feel doubt, or anything related to anything in that realm, my dream continues in that way. So if I'm having a dream that is like that, some could call it a nightmare, then I realize I'm dreaming. Suddenly my emotions, what I'm feeling, completely shifts. That knowledge, that understanding, that realization that I'm dreaming gives me that empowerment to instantly shift my dream. Just as when we begin to realize the law of, what we call the law of attraction or manifestation, there can be that moment of instant realization that I can shift my reality. So when you observe how you are able to shift in your dreams, you can see how you can even easier or more easily shift in your waking hours.
So let me understand this here. So I go to sleep and I have a dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then what you are saying is that you can even probably awake a part of your brain where you really know what you're dreaming, and you can change your dream. That's where we're going.
Well, of course, they call it lucid dreaming. It's very well known. There could even be books on it here in this room.
So how can our audience do this on their own if they want to practice it?
Well, there are many techniques. I recommend doing a lot of self-investigation, whether it comes to Google or going to the library or the local bookstore. There are several rituals that you can go through that can elicit lucid dreams. You could use the herb mugwort, for instance. You could steep it in a tea, or I believe you can smoke it. You can also practice lucid dreaming by altering your circadian rhythm. so that when you do finally go to sleep, it is by your choice. Rather than just falling asleep, you are putting yourself to sleep. You can, a trick that I've heard about is when you go to sleep, you keep your arm up just like this, and just before the moment that you fall asleep, your arm falls, and you then realize just enough that you are sleeping, but you are aware. Your mind is still conscious. If you've ever experienced being thrust into a lucid dream, you may start out with the experience of sleep paralysis. And sleep paralysis is where you're laying there in bed and suddenly you realize that you can't move your body. And if that scares you at all, I highly recommend to just roll with it, because what comes next can be a truly, truly exciting experience. You may feel a rush. You may feel yourself almost like going through a tunnel on a roller coaster. You might see these bright flashing lights, and that can lead you to an out-of-body experience. That can lead you to the experience of astral traveling, where you physically lift out of your body and you see a cord, some have described it as silver or bluish, attached to your body, and you can go and travel. That can also just lead into a lucid experience, a very, very lucid dream experience.
So, when my spirituality started about 12 years ago, I was sleeping in my bed, and around 2 a.m. I saw this white light just as a human coming out of my body. And I could literally, I know I'm on the bed sleeping, and I could see it like rising up, and it started to go up on the ceiling and started to touch the ceiling, and then suddenly it wanted to go and open the door. And I was just so scared at that moment that I pulled my soul back, this white light back into my body through all my power. And then I woke up and I was all perspiring, and it was quite the first dream, quite an experience, the first dream which I had. And after that, I started to read books about it and read more about spirituality and learning.
When you realize that the physics of your dreams are the same as the physics of these waking hours, that's when you begin to be able to start asking questions as to how can I do the things that I do in my dreams in my waking hours.
In every show, we give you one spiritual affirmation to ponder on and think about every week. So today's spiritual affirmation is: Jesse Ellen Smith, thank you so much for coming into our show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we will see you soon. You're from San Diego, right?
Yep, San Diego.
Hopefully you'll come back to San Francisco and we'll bring you back in the show.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much.